You have probably encountered titanium without thinking about it. The frame of a lightweight bicycle, the clasp on a premium watch, the screws holding a hip implant in place, the structural components inside a commercial aircraft. It feels like a rare and exotic material, something reserved for specialists and extreme applications. Here is the part that surprises most people. Titanium is actually the 9th most abundant element in the Earth's crust. It is more common than copper, more common than lead, more common than tin. So why does it cost so much? Why does producing it take such extraordinary effort? And what exactly has to happen between a handful of gray ore pulled from the ground and the polished metal inside a prosthetic joint? The real reason titanium is so difficult to use is one of the more counterintuitive stories in materials science. Let's get into it right here on Small Things. Everywhere, yet hard to reach. At its core, titanium is a transition metal, silver gray, relatively light for its strength and almost completely resistant to corrosion. In its finished form, it carries a kind of quiet authority, strong enough to withstand the stress of a jet engine, light enough to wear as a watch without noticing the weight, stable enough to sit inside a human body for decades without being rejected by it. But the raw material is a completely different thing. Titanium in nature is chemically stubborn. It forms powerful bonds with oxygen and other elements, locking itself inside mineral compounds that do not give it up without a fight. You cannot smelt titanium the way you smelt iron. The usual approaches do not work. Getting to the useful metal requires an entirely different approach, and understanding why that is starts with what titanium actually looks like underground. A metal no one could free. It did not start as a premium material. It started as a curiosity that nobody could do anything useful with. Titanium was first identified as an element in 1791 by William Gregor, a British clergyman and amateur mineralogist who found an unusual black sand near a stream in Cornwall, England. He isolated something new from it and named it monaconite after the local parish. A few years later, a German chemist independently identified the same element and gave it the name we still use today, titanium, named after the Titans of Greek mythology. Given how difficult the element would prove to tame, the name turned out to be fitting. For the next century and a half, titanium remained almost entirely impractical. Scientists knew it existed. They measured its remarkable properties, but they could not reliably extract it in pure form, because its chemistry kept getting in the way. Titanium bonds with oxygen so readily that even when you free it from one compound, it tends to immediately bond with the oxygen or nitrogen in the surrounding air. Producing it required conditions that were extremely difficult to create and sustain. The breakthrough came in the 1940s when a Luxembourg-born chemist named Wilhelm Kroll developed a process that finally made industrial titanium production possible. The Kroll process, as it became known, is still the dominant method of producing titanium today, more than 80 years after it was invented. The fact that no commercially viable alternative has displaced it in all that time tells you something important about how genuinely difficult this chemistry problem is. Once a reliable production method existed, demand for titanium grew rapidly alongside the expansion of aerospace engineering. Aircraft structures, jet engine components, and spacecraft needed materials that could handle extreme stress, extreme temperatures, and sustained vibration, all while keeping weight to a minimum. Titanium met those requirements better than anything else available. Industries built themselves around producing it, despite the cost. The material William Gregor found in a Cornish stream in 1791 became, within 2 centuries, one of the most strategically important metals on the planet. An element abundant in the ground, locked away by chemistry, and freed only through a process that took humanity 150 years to develop. The long road from ore to metal. So what actually has to happen to turn titanium ore into the metal inside an aircraft or a medical implant? It begins with mining. Titanium is found mostly in 2 minerals, ilmenite and rutile, which are extracted from open-pit mines primarily in Australia, South Africa, and Canada. Once mined, the ore is crushed, washed, and processed to separate and concentrate the titanium-bearing minerals from everything else. What comes out of the ground at this stage bears no resemblance to finished metal. It is the very beginning of a long and demanding separation process. Then comes the step that defines the challenge. The concentrated ore is mixed with chlorine gas and a carbon source, then heated to around 1000 degrees Celsius. The reaction produces a compound called titanium tetrachloride, a highly reactive, volatile liquid. Impurities from the ore are left behind as solids. The titanium tetrachloride is then carefully distilled to remove whatever impurities remain, leaving a purified liquid. Now the most demanding stage. The titanium tetrachloride is reacted with magnesium inside a sealed vessel, in a vacuum or inert gas atmosphere, at very high temperature. The magnesium pulls the chlorine away from the titanium, leaving metallic titanium behind. The result is called titanium sponge, a porous, rough gray mass that looks almost nothing like the finished material people think of when they hear the word titanium. That sponge must then be melted. A process called vacuum arc remelting heats the sponge inside a vacuum furnace, preventing any oxygen or nitrogen from contaminating the metal while it is in a liquid state. The result is cast into large solid blocks called ingots, which are then forged, rolled, or extruded into the sheets, rods, and tubes that manufacturers work with. Every single stage requires precisely controlled conditions and constant vigilance against contamination. Titanium will bond with almost anything if given the opportunity. The entire production process is a sustained, deliberate effort to prevent that from happening at every step from ore to finished form. The cost is not about scarcity. The most common assumption people make about titanium is that it is expensive and difficult to produce because it is rare. That assumption is wrong. Titanium is genuinely abundant in the Earth's crust. The challenge is purely chemical and energetic. Nature locks it into compounds so tightly that freeing it requires more steps, more heat, more specialized infrastructure, and more careful handling than almost any other common metal. Compare this to iron. Iron ore can be reduced to usable metal by heating it with carbon in a furnace, a process humans have been doing for thousands of years using relatively simple equipment. Aluminium took longer to unlock at industrial scale, but once electrolysis was applied in the late 19th century, production scaled rapidly, and costs fell dramatically over the following decades. Titanium has resisted that kind of simplification. The Kroll process works, but it is slow, energy-intensive, and difficult to scale in the way that steel or aluminium production has been scaled. Researchers have been searching for a better method for decades. Some alternatives exist, including an electrolytic approach called the FFC Cambridge process, but none have displaced Kroll in commercial production. The result is that titanium costs far more per kilogram than iron or aluminium, not because it is scarce in the ground, but because chemistry makes it stubbornly hard to separate from the compounds it naturally forms. The ground is full of it. The difficulty is in the unlocking. Where only titanium will do. Today, you will find titanium concentrated in applications where its combination of properties, strength, low weight, corrosion resistance, and biological compatibility, justifies the effort and cost of producing it. In aerospace, it is inside jet engine components, airframe structures, and fasteners, anywhere that simultaneously needs to be strong, light, and resistant to extreme heat. A modern commercial aircraft may contain several tons of titanium across its structure and engine systems. In medicine, it is inside hip replacements, dental implants, bone screws, and cardiac components. The human body does not reject it. It bonds naturally with bone. It does not corrode in biological fluids. For long-term surgical implants, these properties make it essentially irreplaceable. In consumer goods, it appears in high-end bicycle frames, premium watch cases, and the bodies of laptops and phones, often as much for the feel and weight it gives a product as for any specific performance requirement. Titanium is also fully recyclable. Scrap from manufacturing processes is collected, remelted, and returned to use. The material retains its properties through recycling. This matters significantly because the energy cost of producing primary titanium from ore is so high that recovering and reusing existing metal delivers real economic and environmental value. The global demand for titanium continues to grow, driven by aerospace expansion and the increasing use of long-term medical implants. The Kroll process, invented in the 1940s, still makes almost all of it. Common element, uncommon effort. So why does a metal this common take this much effort to produce? Because abundance in the ground means almost nothing if the chemistry refuses to cooperate. Titanium is everywhere beneath our feet, but nature holds it inside compounds it does not release without considerable force. Freeing it requires controlled temperatures, precise reactive chemistry, vacuum environments, and manufacturing steps that most other metals never come close to needing. Titanium is not special because it is rare. It is special because nature locks it away so tightly, and humans have to fight through chemistry, heat, and precision engineering just to turn it into something useful. Every aircraft rib, every implant screw, every watch clasp made from this material is the end result of that fight. Common element, uncommon effort, remarkable outcome. If this changed the way you think about a material you have seen but never questioned, let us know in the comments what you want us to explore next. We might make it our next episode. Thanks for watching. History often hides in the smallest details.